Hello, everyone, and happy New Year. Welcome to Restart Wellness. This is a weekly live learning program powered by Project Ripple, aimed to discuss how people can stay healthy in a new reality. My name is Karel Herrera. Thank you for joining us for our first episode for 2021. Today, interesting ang topic natin. We're going to talk about self-forgiveness. Pagpapatawad ng sarili as a way to jumpstart the year on the right foot and be able to help you all put to rest any regrets you may have had over the past year. Parang panahon na para mag-let go. Now, because of the rise of isolation and inactivity over the past year, I'm sure that a lot of us have had that over-reliance on trying to be productive. While some of us have a lot of time to ourselves at siguro kung ano-ano na yung naiisip natin, and some of that have led to a lot of unhealthy and harmful behaviors that have also worsened our mental status and also worsening our mental health issues. Now, YouTube channel, The School of Life, posted this video way back in 2016. It's a message, though, that still stands and I think is even more important today, given what we've been through. They talk about this culture of excessive self-criticism that can lead to self-flagellation. I think alam natin yan, yung talagang pinahihirapan natin ang sarili natin because we criticize ourselves so much. And how it can be helped through self-compassion. And the concept very, very close to that is self-forgiveness. Here's a clip.
What we might call self-flagellation, a rather dangerous state which just ushers in depression and underperformance. We might simply lose the will to get out of bed. For those moments, we need a corrective. We need to carve out time for an emotional state of which many of us are profoundly suspicious. Self-compassion. We're suspicious because that sounds horribly close to self-pity. But because depression and self-hatred are serious enemies of a good life, we need to appreciate the role of self-care in a good, ambitious, and fruitful life.
Right. So we'll need to establish that self-compassion before thinking about self-forgiveness, both of which requires us to first be able to take care of ourselves and live a fruitful and happy life. Now, to help us answer our hot takes question of the day and understand more about self-forgiveness and trying to overcome those regrets and anxiety, let's bring out our guests. The happiness Dr. Leah Bernardo, the managing director of Better Step Psychology, Rafael Inocencio, and award-winning actress Shaina Magdayaw. Hello, everyone.
Okay, hi. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just so glad to have all of you here. Now, there is a hot takes question here. I don't know if you have your cards or a piece of paper there or your pen and paper, but you need to answer this. The hot takes question is, I've done things that I haven't forgiven myself for. Yes or no? Ayan, tignan kaya natin ang mga sagot. Shaina, can I see your answer? Yes or
A lot
no?
of yeses.
Wow! All right. What about you, Dr. Leah?
Yes, of course.
Of course, yes. What about you, Rafi?
Me, thankfully, as of now, can you see it? No. So parang that was part of the process of taking care of myself, basically.
Very, very interesting. I think this is very apparent right now when it comes to self-forgiveness. Like there are people who would say, no, I haven't forgiven myself yet. And some people would say, yes, that's a part of the process. Can you probably share a little bit about what happened? Maybe an insight? Dr. Bernardo, Doc Leah, is it okay for you to start first?
Leah's good.
Leah, what do you want to share about this thing, about self-forgiveness?
Wait, let me clarify the question. The question is, what do I want to share regarding
self-forgiveness in general? Like especially you've said yes to, I've done things that I've not forgiven myself for.
Self forgiveness, I think all forgiveness, I'm just going to generalize all forgiveness is self forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
However, forgiveness cannot be on demand. And
Mm.
so you need to be self aware enough and love yourself enough to know that it may not be time to forgive.
Mhm.
However, um, all forgiveness is self forgiveness. That's based on my experience.
Wow. I would love to also hear from Shaina. Shaina, are you here already? I just want to ask, what about you? What is your experience on not forgiving yourself? If you may share a little bit, not necessarily the entire context or issue, but an insight. Yes. Ayan. Shaina, did you hear? Ayan, you heard the
I
question?
lost you for maybe a few seconds. I'm
Ah,
sorry. I
sige.
didn't hear the
What about you? You're sharing on, an experience of not being able to forgive yourself?
maybe an
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 insight.
experience of not knowing that there's such thing as self forgiveness. Because I don't know, maybe I was just brought up in an environment wherein yeah, forgiveness was really tackled, pero forgiving other people.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
It was just when I met Atalia that I became aware about forgiving myself also, which became the last step. It was my, you work on forgiving people
Mm-hmm.
and those who wronged you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always going to be a long process. It's never easy. But then there's something that's still holding you back, or, some sense of, I don't know, maybe you don't feel the total freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It was when she introduced self forgiveness. That was when okay, so I haven't forgiven myself pala.
Wow.
Which
Interesting. And
became the magic. And
yeah.
then after that, finally, I felt sincerely at ease and at peace.
I think that's a process we would like to learn more about, in the process of our conversation. And of course, Rafi, I'd love to hear from you more, but I would love to also lead into the poll that we have, because you answered that question. I've done things that I haven't forgiven myself for. I would like to just remind our audience that we have this poll, and it's active and it's ongoing. So we would love you to please take part in that. Say yes if there is something that you've done that you haven't forgiven yourself for, and no if it doesn't apply to you. So now for the slant. To start us off, we'll be figuring some stuff you may not have known when it comes to self forgiveness. So, Rafi, maybe you'd be the first person that I would ask, why is it so hard to forgive yourself?
I think it's very hard to forgive ourselves in the same way that alam mo yung it's hard to listen to your own advice. Sometimes we surprise ourselves. Uy, ang galing ko naman dun. Parang my friend's problem, I was able to give really good advice. Or you surprise yourself na, saan ang galing yun? Parang it's very hard. And I think that's because, you know, we live in our lives parang on our own, ourselves. So it's hard to be kind of more objective about what's going on. It's easier to put yourself in the shoes of other people rather than, I think, reflect on how you're doing. That's a more complex activity, I think. So that's why I think it's harder to forgive ourselves. And I think we're also kind of programmed sometimes to be harder on ourselves. If you think about it, when you were smaller, I have to be this, I have to make other people proud, I have to, it's about doing things, getting used to doing things in the service of things that are usually external to us. And so we kind of get used to that, and we're not used to that process of introspecting, like Shaina was saying a while ago. She kind of got through a lot of things, but then there was something that's still hanging on. And I think that came from that true freedom that she was talking about only came about after there was an introspection or an understanding of self that happened.
That's right. And, as Shaina was saying kanina nga, di ba, na parang until she met Leah,
Right.
that's when she realized, oh, kailangan ko palagang patawarin yung sarili ko.
Mm.
Leah, why is it so hard? I'll ask this question to you. Bakit ba mahirap magpatawad ng sarili?
Okay, for me, in the work that I do, it boils down to two things: guilt and shame.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we have gotten so good at creating that for ourselves through that self-judgment and self-criticism that Rafi was talking about. And that's, we propagate that and we run that. And so the first thing we do when we teach people forgiveness is to really get rid of guilt and shame, because every single emotion will serve you. Every single one, including sadness, including grief, including anger. But guilt and shame, that has no service to you whatsoever. That's a human creation that is equal to self-flagellation.
Wow. Wow. And when you feel or experience that guilt and shame, how does that manifest in a person? Is how do you see it? How does it manifest in their day-to-day lives?
Mm.
So maybe a take on that. Maybe any of you would like to answer. Like, Shaina, may nakita ka ba na manifestation? Or Rafi, in your experience, when people go to you for help, what do you see? What is a
Right.
manifestation of that?
Right. So I think guilt and shame as emotions, no, as feelings, we all go through that. I think they're pretty natural, also no, naturally occurring, and they're always related to us doing something that we feel or we believe isn't quite right or isn't quite jiving with what we believe in. I think yes, that guilt and shame both hold us back, but I'd like to make a distinction. Sana na shame is so much more intense. I feel than guilt. Guilt can be more short term, more less long lasting. We can be guilty about maybe this for example, you're on a diet and then you kind of get that second or third bar of chocolate. That's an experience of guilt. But then when you go to that second or third bar of chocolate 7 days in a row, you know that can transform into a very shameful experience that I can't control myself. What some people would say parang I'm such a pig. That kind of very intense, longer lasting experience can be more shame. Sometimes guilt can be a transformative experience also. I
Mhm.
think especially when the guilt is more
Right.
creating like a sense of discomfort that leads to change. Like for example, maybe I ate too much today. Okay, so
Right.
that becomes transformative in a reflective sense. That can be transformative and say, okay, then maybe I'll make up for it an extra hour on the run around or something like that. So I
Right.
think there's a place for both of them, but then the differentiating them as for me in my professional experience seeing it is that shame is more long lasting.
Mm.
It's like a stain on you, I think. And then guilt is more like yung mga galos-galos that we get on a day-to-day basis, I think.
Actually, we have an article right now that supports that, and
Mm.
we would like to share that with you. Guilt and shame, what's the difference and why does it matter? It's from betterhelp.com, and it says there guilt provokes both thoughts of how we failed and distressing emotions like sadness, anger, or anxiety. It can even cause physical reactions such as an upset stomach.
Mm.
If resolved appropriately, some guilt can be healthy now.
Right.
Shame, on the other hand, as you said here, Rafi, is defined as an intense feeling about the self that comes from failing to live up to your own or other standards. The main difference is that shame makes you see yourself as a bad person, while guilt implies you are a good person who did something bad. Shame is unhealthy, especially if it's not resolved, because it leads to loss of self-esteem over time. Although, Leah, you said, those two things, I mean, one can be better than the other, but you talked about the two things as, okay, these are things that you don't
Yeah.
need. Maybe you
As a
can.
matter of fact, I do not feel that guilt or shame is something that is beneficial. In other words, calling guilt something that is good for you is at least in my training and in the way we do things is a very self-diminishing way of doing things when there are better ways that will change behavior that does not utilize guilt. Pain is one of them. Pain
Mhm.
is a catalyst for growth, and pain is a healthy way to change behavior. Whereas guilt to change behavior is not, because you're creating trauma with that guilt. So, and again, it's semantics. It's a way of doing things. At the end of the day, you do what works,
Mm.
and at the end of the day, the why is actually irrelevant, because what is needed here is at the more applicable question, because the what is needed here are the solutions based on each and every person, that's bespoke to each and every person,
Mm.
because no two people are alike. And
Mm.
so
Yes.
rather than delve on the why, I'd rather focus on the solution, and that way we don't even need to distinguish whether it's guilt or
Mm.
shame, because shame is so insidious that it hides itself so well, and it will mask itself.
Mm.
um, it will completely mask itself. I mean, even to people like us who are very aware of emotions, and it still is able to mask itself, and that's how insidious, I was going to say grief, I meant shame is.
Yes, yes. Interesting yung sinabi ni Shaina na she learned only about kailangan niya palang patawarin yung sarili niya when she attended your session, in your workshop. I want to ask Shaina, ano yung pakiramdam nun? Ano yung naramdaman mo na parang, oh my God, kailangan ko talaga palang patawarin sarili ko? Ano yung wake-up call? Ano yung moment na naramdaman mo, or I don't know if you felt in the past that burden of shame or guilt? Maybe you could take us through that realization, that experience being with Leah and learning that you had to forgive yourself.
Well, to be very honest, no awareness talaga at first. Like what I said, I attended the retreat not even for myself. Like I was there for two of my ates, just to be there, just
Hi,
to be
Luna.
Ate Luna and Ate Aisel. Happy birthday, Ate
Luna and
Aisel.
Isel.
Ate Luna's for watching. But
Yeah.
so I went there for them, thinking that I was there to be their support system. Little did I know that, well, I believe that things really don't happen just like that. I mean, things happen for a reason, and apparently I had to be there and attend the retreat for myself. And during the retreat, it was a 3 day retreat, right, Atelier?
Mhm.
We did
Yes.
exercises about trying to experience your wholeness. Um, and then one of the exercises were like about letting go. And like what I said, I always choose to forgive people, like, who wronged me, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing it for them. I'm actually doing it for me, because when
Wow.
I keep the grudge in my heart, I carry the heaviness. I carry the load. It's not them. So
Wow.
Right.
I
Right.
always say that I'm sorry. I always say that, when people wrong me, I put them in my prayer list na lang.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Than to, hold on to that
Right.
um
Right.
the pain and also because this is what I do for a living. I'm always crying and I don't want to hold on to those bad I already cry for a living, diba? I cry already in real life.
Oh, oo
Um
nga.
so when one exercise I don't remember, but one exercise was about forgiving yourself, and I couldn't stop myself from crying. Parang it was this release.
Mm-mm.
Because it was apparently it's this pain that I did not know was there. Because I wasn't really aware that
Yeah.
there was still something inside me. I thought I was already able to let all the grudges go, all the pain go, and choose to learn from it. Pero hindi pala. Like deep
Parang,
within me,
Yeah.
yes.
meron pala.
Yeah.
Yeah, parang
Um,
merong something inside you na kailangan marinig yung I
Mm-mm.
forgive myself, no?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So, very, very insightful. Did you feel after that, was it yung parang kang binunutan ng tinik? Was there that, yung, meron bang ganun parang cathartic moment na,
parang na-unleash or na-release. I don't know. And then it became already part of my routine. Like, unfortunately, we cannot travel now, but usually I always use the term pagpag every after project that I do. Because I
yes,
can't hold on to the emotions of my characters, or else I don't know. Maybe
Right.
I'll go crazy.
definitely.
So I always make pagpag every after project, and every New Year, which parang this is so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
This session is so perfect.
Ang
Funny
galing,
nga
oo.
because I was saying na I'm not even an expert. I'm not even a life expert, but maybe I'm the perfect one to be here because, or like to be speaking in front of people because I'm an expert in making mistakes.
Yeah,
And
We
definitely.
all are, I think.
Mm-mm.
right, so
Yeah. And
yeah,
that,
maybe that's
hindi
why
mo
I'm here.
alam, ang ganda nung parang you didn't know that there were things that your body was going through, you were going through, and when you actually had that forgiveness, you felt that release. And a while ago, we mentioned something about people getting sick, having an upset stomach just because of unforgiveness. Imagine all the other things that get to feel better in our entire body just because we were able to let go.
Yeah.
So I think right now, I can go to the poll, yung ating first poll. Meron na tayong results. And I think, ito yung results natin. I've done things that I haven't forgiven myself for. 34% of people said yes. Mas marami yung no, 66%. So great
Oh,
job, guys.
we have a very healthy audience
Very
today.
good.
Yay! Very good.
Yeah.
And I guess, even for the people who said, na yes, nag-yes sila, well, again, it's being human. We all go through things, we all make
Absolutely.
Yeah.
mistakes, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
let me now open the second poll. The second poll is, I find it difficult to forgive myself. Is it a yes or a no? Ako, I would jump the gun and I would say, I probably will say yes. Yes po.
Yeah.
Ang hirap kasi
Yes.
mapagpatawad ako sa iba. Ang bait-bait ko sa ibang tao. Pero pagdating sa sarili ko,
Yeah.
so hard.
Medyo
Right.
mahirap.
Yeah. So now that we know all this about self-forgiveness, we'll use this next part of the slant in order to answer some questions on how to start being kinder to yourself and be able to forgive with tears.
With tears, with matching tears. Like I said earlier, don't force yourself into forgiveness. You know how everyone always tells us, forgive na lang.
Mm.
And forgiveness is a process and you need to be ready. How do you know when you're ready? When you're no longer comfortable with carrying that burden. So let's define forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean what you did to me is okay, nor does it mean welcome back into my life. What forgiveness is I know what you did to me. It's not okay, but I'm no longer going to be affected by it. I'm no longer carrying that burden with me. Imagine your brain as the primest, most expensive real estate in your universe. Who is living there? Don't allow people you don't particularly like
Woo!
to live there rent
I'm taking
free,
down notes.
right? I mean, make sure that the laman of this are people that you value, that you
Right.
honor, that means something to you.
Oh my
Not
God.
people
Mm.
who have done you wrong.
Oh my goodness. I will take note of that. And ladies and gentlemen, tandaan niyo yung sinabi ni Leah.
Sinong umuupa sa
Expensive.
utak niyo?
Ang mahal-mahal niya. Napaka-importante. Sino nakatira dyan? Who lives there? And I love that, you have to be ready to let go of the burden. Kasi nagawa ko
Mhm.
na yung, I forgive you, I forgive you.
Yeah,
Nagawa ko na yun sa sarili ko. Pero
Mm-mm.
meron pa din,
that's it,
nararamdaman mo
right?
yung,
Because
yeah,
you did it when you weren't ready. Or it could also be you've forgiven a facet of it, and there are just, you know, other facets that need walis-walis right now. I call it walis-walis or pag-pag, like Shaina was saying, because it's like it doesn't mean you will be completely free from it. You might be, and that's good, but there are facets. We're people, and so sometimes there will be bits and pieces of the incident that comes back. And don't berate yourself by saying, I thought I forgave myself already, or I thought I forgave this person already. We tend to do that very often. And it communicates to yourself that you're not enough. So just understand that this sometimes it comes in stages, sometimes it's a clean
yes,
sweep. We're all different and we manage it differently,
Mhm.
but stop analyzing. I think this is where people get
oh
into
yeah,
trouble
mm,
when they start running that whole story, because what forgiveness does is that it frees you from that story that something was done to you and that you are the victim of something that was done to you. Nothing is being done to you.
wow.
Okay? And
So
also, yeah,
can I ask,
go, go.
if you've forgiven, does it, like what you're saying, no, na, do you stop talking about it? Or can you start
Absolutely, yes. Because
writing
each
down?
time you talk about something, the brain is like a hamster wheel. And you're the hamster, you're running that hamster wheel. So
Mm-mm.
each time you're talking about something, you're recreating it in your mind and you're expanding that.
Right.
That's the
Exactly.
easiest way to remember. So when you talk about something, let's say there's something in your past, I'd rather you mention it as a fact and then spend time on how you solved it and how you transcended that versus getting stuck to the story that this
Mm-mm.
happened to me and I'm so uppy and
Mm-mm.
I'm the victim. And
Mm.
because no one is doing anything to you, it's an
Right.
experience.
Mm-mm.
Yes, yes. I'm absolutely loving this, what you're saying, because there are people who keep repeating it, no? And they're like, na-forgive ko na ba talaga siya? Hindi ko alam eh. Parang hindi pa talaga na-forgive.
Mm-mm.
Na-analyze nila masyado yung forgiveness. And then, always, they're the victim in the story. And what if I talk about it, maybe turn it around and see how I heroed in it.
Be the hero of your own story. That's it.
Noted. Noted. So maybe I could get a little bit naman from Rafi. Now, okay, I have forgiven myself. What should
Mm-hmm.
come next?
Well, like we keep saying, no, I think everyone in this panel's in agreement. Forgiveness is a process, no. How can I forgive myself? What happens next after I've forgiven myself? Live through it. Follow through with that forgiveness. It's not. It doesn't mean that the forgiveness is the end. Actually, in the process, forgiveness is the maybe like not this the start. The recognizing is the start, but then the forgiveness comes in early. The freedom is the end point here. So you start
Yes.
forgiving yourself, you start getting that freedom, you start working towards that freedom. And then and a lot of people keep asking us, syempre, parang how do I know kung forgiven na ko na yung sarili ko and all of that? You
That's
know,
actually my next
right.
question.
when
Very good.
when when you for me when you know when you've forgiven yourself, because forgiveness is an active process. It's not something that just whooshes by and then parang you catch it and then whoop, forgiven. It's not like that. You are part of that process. It's an active process. We're talking about self-forgiveness, so it's within internal. But then even forgiveness in terms of like our relationships, that's something that's an active process also between those two people. So when you are still asking me, parang, have I forgiven myself or I've maybe not, but then that tells me
Yeah.
you're engaging in that process. And so I'll will encourage you, come on, let's engage in that process until you get to the point na, okay, okay, na I've made meaning out of this. I know where this is going, and then I've unburdened myself of that weight of the non forgiveness is has brought to my life.
I like that. I like what you said when you said meaning. What does it
Mm,
mean to me that's making me
right,
hold on to this so
right,
much?
right,
Right? Because
right.
we hold on to so many things like, but what does it mean to me? Bakit ba ganun
Mm-mm.
ka-importante? Like, again,
Yeah.
siguro this next question. What if you consciously done the process of forgiving yourself, but the others did not forgive you yet? People around you, the ones you've hurt, they have not forgiven you. So is
Yeah.
it enough na I forgave myself,
Mm-hmm.
even if
Mm-hmm.
others did not forgive me?
Mm-hmm. I think very quickly, I think forgiveness is some like Shayna was saying a while ago. Forgiveness, parang there are people who've wronged her. She forgive them, but then there's something that tira, yung may tira that she needed to make pagpag and everything. Um, and I think, and I want to emphasize this part now to everyone who's watching us, is that forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. No, like Lee was saying a while ago, forgiveness isn't a what's that term? Yung forgiveness isn't a it's like it's not to tell the other person, okay, you're okay, we're good. No, it's not that. We're not condoning them, we're not giving them excuses. But forgiveness is like I said a while ago, an unburdening of that which you carry that shouldn't be carried there. No, that mabigat yung guilt and shame, very, like I said, shame's a stain. Guilt is an unnecessary thing. So we have to unburden ourselves of that. And I think when that's when that's
Yes.
how you see how that's where it should go.
Right. Shaina, I'd like to ask you this. Have you ever asked forgiveness from anyone in your life and then the person did not want to forgive you? Has that ever happened?
I don't know pa naman,
I thank
fortunately.
God.
I haven't done anything that bad.
Right. But has anyone also, asked forgiveness from you and you're like, unfriend, unfollowed? Have you gone through a process of purging or removing also some people who are unhealthy in your life?
It's different when you say na parang unfollow, unfriend because there's anger
Oh,
compared to
okay.
just really
Yes.
letting go and accepting that maybe they're not really meant to stay in your life.
Right.
Like maybe they were just, life gifted you with their presence to teach you a lesson and not really to stay in your life. So that acceptance has always been in my soul ever since.
Ang
Um
galing.
and after learning from Atelier also about self-forgiveness, before being aware about self-forgiveness, it became my parang what happened was it was my last step. But
Yes.
now that I'm aware of self-forgiveness, I feel that it should be the very first step. I don't know if I'm wrong, maybe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but um I think it should be the very first step for you to be able to sincerely ask for forgiveness from
Yes.
another person.
Ang bait-bait ni Shaina, no? Parang listening to her, kasi parang kung ako yun, hindi mo ako, meron siyang kasalanan sa akin. I have unfriended so many people and unfollowed so many people in my life. Parang
Because
for me,
maliit lang ang mundo, especially
that's
tayong
true.
Filipino.
Yeah.
I
No?
mean, you have to learn how to coexist. And that's true
Mm-mm.
what Atelia said, that, forgiving doesn't mean that you're going to welcome them back in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
It doesn't mean that you're going to say, okay, sige, you're part of we're friends again. Or like,
Right.
Mm-mm.
okay, I love you as a friend again. But
It'll
no,
never be the
it's
same. May
not
Right.
ganun
about
ka
that
Right. Right.
anymore. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Mm.
you
Right.
can forgive
Right.
them and I'm so sorry. I'm in the provincial. I mean, you can forgive them. Sorry.
I
Okay,
want.
wala na. You can forgive them, but not have them back in your life. Not grant them that space anymore.
Yes. Yes. We have to I think we have to clarify for people that forgiveness is different from reconciliation.
Yes.
Forgiveness is
Yes.
is more like we were saying, forgiveness is being finding that peace and freedom within yourself of what has happened. But
Right.
reconciliation is rebuilding eh. So
Right.
those are two very different things, and those are two very independent processes, I think,
Right.
you know. So even if it's self forgiveness, that self reconciliation with your self esteem and self confidence, those are two very different things also. So we have I think we'll pick up parang from what Shine was saying and clarify for people that those are very different things.
Right. Ito, I wanna ask sana Leah, pero ang dami, dinudumog tayo ng questions from the audience. I
No, but
love
that's
it.
such a beautiful distinction, Rafi. Thank
Yeah,
you. I think
yeah,
you just cleared it up for a lot of people. Thank
right.
Mm,
you.
definitely. And I think yun din parang leading into that, yung boundaries. We were talking about
Mm,
that earlier before the show started, Leah.
yeah.
So, what if, yun na nga, I'm unfriending you or blocking you, not because,
Mm-mm,
I forgive you, but I'm blocking you.
right.
Pwede ba yun?
I
Pwede ba
think
yun?
I think
Yung
it
boundaries
depends on
mo?
the purpose, I think, you know. So you can say parang the reason that you're blocking them is, it helps
Self.
facilitate that process, you know.
Right. Okay.
I want to echo what Shaina was saying, yung parang, maybe sometimes kasi when that impulse comes, it might be from a place of anger, and we don't want that.
Yes.
So if you're unblocking today, if you're blocking people and unfriending people from a place of anger, then maybe that's not going towards forgiveness. But if you're unblocking and unfriending or blocking and unfriending people, but the purpose of that blocking and unfriending is to facilitate your own process,
Yes.
then
Yes.
yeah, maybe.
Yes, yes, definitely. Ito na, I'll start na with the questions from the audience. Medyo marami-rami po ito. I think this is the most, no? Biglang umaandar, ang daming nagtatanong. Okay, from Angelo Simon. As a friend of someone who struggles with their own self-forgiveness journey, what can I do to support them? Leah, is there a way for a person to support someone in a self-forgiveness journey?
For me, the best way friends can support other people is not to solve their problems for them, but just to be there for them without judgment and just be there to help them raise their frequency, help them feel better about themselves, and just be the most unjudgmental version of yourself. I think that's what friends ought to do for friends. The way I do it with my friends is that I'm on their side, period.
Mhm.
And so I just hold their hand when they're going through things. I don't try to solve their problems for them. It's also because I'm a therapist, so there's a thin line, right, between are you my friend or am I being your therapist? And so I just simply sit there and just tell them everything's going to be okay and that
Mm,
they need to be able to do this in their own time, in their own way.
yeah.
Right. And now for Leah as a professional, and of course, Rafi, you're also a professional. And I'm sure that, these are things that you would want to, you know, tell people who are not, um, licensed or, they're not medical professionals. So just be there and hold that space for someone else. But,
Yeah.
Shaina, do you have friends that you also help out who are, probably seeking self-forgiveness or forgiving others? What have you done anything, or what is your advice for normal, ordinary people? Like, so many other people out there so that they could help others in their journey too.
Well, like what Atelia said, it's really the presence, knowing that you have a friend you can count on. I think that's already enough.
Hmm. Yes.
Um, or maybe just to listen, just really listen.
Yeah.
If they need to unload, if they
Yeah.
need to someone to talk to, I just make sure that I listen.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Nice. Nice.
or or actually the other way around, when I'm going through something, I ask my friends first if they have the emotional capacity to listen to me, because I don't want to be inconsiderate. 'Di ba? Parang you're gonna be calling someone, you know what, and then that someone is also going through something pala. So
Yeah.
before I unload or like I share my burden, I always ask my friends, like, do you have time? Do you have the energy to even listen to me, to my problem?
Yes. Yes.
But ako as a friend, I always make sure that I'm there to listen. And I think that's the best thing that I can do for my friends.
Meron ditong tanong, and I think I can ask this kay Leah. What should I do if the people I hurt refuse to forgive me?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Um, and again, from the perspective of self-love, it's really take care of your side of the fence, because we cannot control how other people will react to you or respond to you. But make sure you respond and you come from a place of love and a place of honor for yourself and the other. How they respond is just a reflection of them. It's not even a reflection on you. And when people learn to understand that, then the guilt will diminish, because a lot of times you start running guilt because somebody won't forgive you. When and that person that's not able to forgive you is running their own story, which you cannot control. So check your side of the fence, and if all the boxes have ticks on it, then again, you've done your share, you've done your part. If you're in a space of love and you're proud of yourself for having done what you did to get through that pain, then there's nothing we can do about the other person.
that's right. I cannot control everyone else and how they think about me, pero at least I can manage myself, my side of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that when you talk about, na-imagine ko aasikasuhin
Yeah.
ko itong garden ko. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing I can take care of. Now, there is another question here from Ed Jason Valiente. Although ito kanina, Rafi, nasagot mo ng slight. Yung sinabi mo kanina na, how can I say that I already forgive
Mm-hmm.
myself? But meron kasi magandang follow-up question, which I think is very process-oriented. Do I need closure?
Well, that's
Di
such
ba?
a loaded word.
Di ba?
Closure. Yes.
Yeah.
I think for Ed, no, Ed, I think you heard us talk kanina about the process and where it sana would lead to. And I think when we talk about freedom, the unburdening, the unshackling, the liberation from that, that is closure.
Yes.
I think we can't say it in a different way, in a better way, but really closure, closure is a closed book. We don't say closure for things like nag-usap na kami, okay na kami, closure. No, the closure is when nag-usap na kayo, okay ka na. That's closure. And I think
Wow.
that is, like the freedom, the unburdening, yun yung closure doon. That's how you know.
Wow. Because a lot of people would think na yung closure, hindi. Kailangan
Mm.
mutual. Kailangan may ritual.
Well, it could be mutual. Ideally, like we said, no
Yes.
reconciliation that's the
Yes.
interpersonal task there. But within yourself, intrapersonal, within yourself, the closure can come even without mending that relationship. Especially, for example, yung the unblocking and the blocking and the unfriending. There's no more chance of reconciliation there in that time that's happening. So, the closure is there. It's internal.
Yeah, definitely. There is this next question, and any of you could answer this, of course. It's from Isha Obeso. How do you know, ito natanong na rin to, how do you know if you've forgiven yourself and how to differentiate it from denial that you've forgiven yourself? Merong bang such a thing na in denial ka lang, forgive, baka in denial ka lang. There are naysayers out there na, totoo ba? Baka naman in denial ka lang, hindi mo lang hinaharap yung katotohanan. Anybody?
I think I think there's a genuineness that feelings bring. Whether or not it's a different question whether or not feelings are logical or rational, but there's a genuineness about emotions and feelings. And so I don't think that there's a yung parang what was the word they used, in denial ka lang na
Yeah,
it's resolved or it's not yet resolved. There's a
yeah,
genuineness to feeling, and like Shaina was saying a while ago, it may have been there may have been time that passed or something like that. But then may tira eh. And so you
yeah.
can't deny. the tira, and it will come back until that closure is achieved.
Right, right, right. Ang dami talagang tanong. It's getting flooded right now. So, Leah, meron ditong question. What if it's too late to ask for forgiveness? This is from Nico Reyes. I mean, I'm the one asking for forgive. What if the one I'm asking for forgiveness is already gone? Ow, yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful question. And
Mm,
thank you
yeah.
so much for asking that, because I'm going to leave you today with a mantra. It's a mantra is a prayer that we repeat over and over again. It's called the Ho'oponopono, and it's in English. Don't worry, it's easy to
Mm,
remember. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And this is the mantra that we chant for forgiveness. It's the mantra that we chant for forgiveness of self. If the person is already gone, meaning transitioned on, um, or you just have no access to the person anymore, we're still connected by energy. And basically, when you chant this mantra, it does something to your subconscious wherein it allows you to forgive yourself. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I chant it throughout the day. I chant it when I do walking meditation. I chant it right before I meditate, right after I meditate, when I'm sitting in traffic. A lot of people ask me, who am I talking to when I'm doing this? My answer, it doesn't matter. Talk to yourself, talk to God, talk to the person
yes.
you've hurt. It doesn't matter because we're all connected.
Yeah.
So you're talking to the all. And I think, Nico, this is what you need. So my advice is let go of the thought that it's too late, that you missed your opportunity, and go into self forgiveness and start now. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
please forgive
Mm-hmm.
me. I love you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
You
Mm-hmm.
wow.
might want to tap your heart while you're saying it. And since everything is energy, trust that it
Oh
will
my
work.
goodness. I was just writing it down. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to suggest go ahead and do it. Nung sinusulat ko pa lang siya, naiiyak na ako. As in, it's bringing tears to my eyes. And there might be people na wala na sa buhay natin ngayon, but please do what Leah said. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. How beautiful that is. There is also another question here. Any of you could answer this, of course. Shaina, you're welcome to give your 2 cents worth here. Also, Rafi and Leah. From Wina May Estipular. And her question is, can you really forgive someone completely even though they don't even ask for your forgiveness?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. No hesitation. Yes.
Parang easier said than done because I deal with honestly I deal with
Yeah.
people who have been molested, who I mean there's been a trigger warning at the very
Mm-hmm.
start, guys, but who've
Mm-mm.
been
Yeah,
through
that's
abuse,
a good question.
yeah, with close people that they have grown up with, and these people were supposed to protect them, but they
Mhm.
never asked for forgiveness. How do
Right.
you forgive that?
Right. I think we have to emphasize again what we've been saying for a good part of the hour, which is that forgiveness. We're talking about forgiveness here as an intrapersonal, as an
Yeah.
within your own person process, and
Mm.
so like we said, we're not talking about reconciliation. We're not talking about rebuilding that relationship, So even if they don't ask for your forgiveness, for your own peace, like we said, what is the end goal of any kind of forgiveness, self forgiveness, other forgiveness? What's the end goal? The end goal is the unburdening. And so you'd like to go on this journey of unburdening. We don't need anyone's permission. You don't need my permission. You don't need the perpetrator's permission. But just,
Wow.
when you feel that for yourself that I'm enough, I want to move forward. I want to unburden myself of this. Then you
Oh,
can go on that journey and we'll
wow.
journey with you.
Yeah. Leah,
Absolutely.
your take on that.
I completely agree with Rafi, because what you're doing is you're not condoning what happened. What you're doing is you're saying what happened happened, but I am no longer going to carry that burden with
Right.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And I am no longer going to be the victim of what happened.
Right.
And
Right.
Wow.
know that when we're talking about molestation or we're talking about any form of violation of the person, give yourself enough compassion to know that this will go slowly. This won't happen in one sweep, but starting is the most difficult. And when you feel that sense of freedom from this, you will continue on.
Right.
Yes.
And remember, first and foremost, that wow, forgiveness is the biggest form of self love. It
Mm-hmm.
is the
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
greatest expression of
Yeah.
self
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
So we forgive because we love ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
forgive because we want to free ourselves
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from this burden, from this
Mm-hmm.
guilt, from
Yes.
this stain. No,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we feel like it's a stain on our person. And
Yeah.
remember, you're not broken. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with you. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
You just need to, and this is one of the few times I will use the word need, you just need to like yourself a little bit more every day.
Yes. Leah, there are a lot of people na kunyari sa mahirap na sitwasyon, nasa
Mhm.
isang location sila, I mean sa buhay na hindi ganun karangya and they cannot afford to seek counseling or coaching or go to people to ask help, especially sa scenario na kasasabi lang natin or nabanggit natin. Marami sa kanila, ang sinisisi rin nila sarili nila. Because ang
Mhm.
sinasabi nila, bakit hindi ako nagsabi? Bakit di ako nanglaban? Bakit hindi ako nagsalita? Bakit ko kinimkim ng ilang taon? So there's still that unforgiveness for the
Yes.
self, for things
Yes.
that have happened to them. What ano
Mm-hmm.
pwede nilang magawa? Lalo na ito, 'di ba? Parang ang ganda nitong avenue na to na meron tayong Restart Wellness for people na makarinig ng mga ganito. Ano ang i-advise mo sa kanila sa ganitong sitwasyon na hirap sila at wala rin silang means to seek for help?
Yeah. There are okay, wow, there's so many
Many.
questions.
Ang dami ko sinabi. I'm so passionate about it. I'm so sorry.
First of all, I want to address the most pressing. And when you go back with regret and say, why didn't I speak up? Why didn't I say something? Why didn't I tell somebody else? And the answer is, doesn't matter. It's done. You did it already. And for whatever reason you did not speak up or defend yourself at that point, it's finished. And what we need to do now is to just maybe give yourself a nice hug and tell yourself it's going to be okay. And come from the perspective that you got through it. You got through a another very difficult time in your life.
Mm,
And that makes you awesome.
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
And then no,
And so, yeah, go
no,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead and Leah.
And so move forward. The
Mm-hmm.
avenue is move forward. The
Right, right.
avenue is look for solutions.
Mm.
And the solutions are there. With
Mm-mm.
social media, like everybody knocks social media, but it can be a gift
Mm.
because
Yes.
with social media, there are so many free things out there. YouTube alone, Facebook, Instagram. We're
Yes.
all on Instagram. We're all on Facebook. We provide shows like this
Yes.
where it's there and the information is there. We live in an information age. There are so many avenues for you to help yourself. The key is you have to want to change. You
Mm.
have to want to help yourself
Mhm.
and trust that once you've made that decision, that there is a higher power that will lead the way and synchronicities will start coming in
Mm.
wherein the avenues will start opening for you, but you really need to make that decision for yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh
Oh,
my goodness. I think there are so many things that we still want to say, especially here. Loaded yung question ko. Ang dami ko
Mm.
tinanong doon. Na parang, where do they seek help?
I think Rafi had something
Yeah.
also.
For
Yeah.
me, wala. Leah said everything, but just to drive home the point, and parang I was keeping this for later, but I think we have to remember that forgiveness as a process is a process that happens in the present, not in the past.
Oh,
So that's
yes.
why the perpetrator doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. What happened, what you weren't able to do doesn't matter. It's a present
Yeah.
oriented process that's looking towards a future. So the past
Wow.
has no place in the forgiveness process.
Wow. Ganda nun. It has no power over you. You're not a victim of that anymore. Yeah? Sarap sabihin na, you've now power over me. No?
Mhm.
Sarap ganun, no? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to move forward as well. And I apologize to the many, many, many people who've given their questions. Ang dami talaga. Like, I'm sorry to Enrique, to Prince Gunda, Kathy, Laluna. Hello. I am so sorry if we don't get to answer all of these questions. Ang dami-dami po talagang pumasok. And of course, I would like to thank Atma Prema for, being our partner for today. There are so many people na natutulungan just because of a conversation like this. Malawak ang forgiveness, napakalawak. And as you've said, it all begins with self-forgiveness. Now, after getting all points and perspective from each and every person from all of the questions and given by our audience members, let's see what our guests have to say for I think just around 2 minutes. If people will watch us right now and just take home with them something that they can on self forgiveness, let's begin this segment called Restart. So let's begin first with Rafi. Would you like to begin with your 2 minuter?
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining us this afternoon. I think it's a very, very beautiful topic, especially to usher in the new year for everyone. Pero for me, we can't help but emphasize that forgiveness isn't. It's about letting go. It's about rebuilding. It's about bearing. It's not about pardoning. It's we keep saying, it's an internal process. It's for you. It's not for other people. The that you're going through this journey, it's for yourself, it's for your own growth, and we want to tell people that it's possible. The second one is that it's a process moving from recognizing and resisting. So how do you know you're ready to start? When you can recognize na, okay, and resist na, okay, this fear, this withdrawal that is preventing me from moving on, I don't want this anymore. This urge to retaliate, even revenge, this isn't the way I want to live anymore. And moving towards understanding and offering of peace and holding on to the commitment and the transformation that is about to happen. I think that's something that we want people to remember. And forgiving, the third one is forgiving is not forgetting. Simply, forgiveness is most effective when instead of acting as if nothing happened, narinig natin yan, okay na tayo, parang let's act like nothing's happened. But that's not true forgiving, that's just forgetting. No, but true forgiveness is about being mindful of, what occurred, and then what we're striving consciously to relate differently, to do things differently, to act in a different way moving forward. That's when we know that that closure has happened. And then finally, yun na nga, the last thing I said, which is forgiveness as a process occurs in the present, moving towards a future where the only thing that the past contributes is what happened, the wrong that happened, the challenge that happened. So let's stay in the present and look towards the future, I think. And then learn this very, very beautiful act of self love and self compassion.
How beautiful. Thank you so much, Rafi. I think those words are truly inspiring, and our audience would get to learn so much from what you've just said. Now, I'm sure that for our next speaker, Shaina, a lot of people would love to hear your insights. Shaina, oh, you're on mute.
Thank you for having me. And actually, I'm one of the viewers today. I'm also learning. But Like what I said kanina, it has to, like, self forgiveness or forgiveness in general. It has to come from yourself. I also don't believe in closures. Maybe when I was younger, I had to have that physical presence of another person just to be able to move on. But now, now that I think, no, I believe I love myself more now and that I accept myself more now. There's no closure or validation needed. And as long as I'm coming from a humble and sincere place, then there's no need for validation from another person. Um, Now I also believe that it's not about the destination, because I used to be an escapist. Atalia knows that. I'm a routine. Like I would always have to leave the country or the city just to be able to say na, okay, I'm letting go, or like I'm moving on. But it's not really about that. It's not about the destination nor the people around you. It's about the, like, where you are, the place where you are, if it's a healthy, and if it's a healthy place, or if you're really sincere about choosing to move forward than holding on to the past. And that being said, I really believe in, it's easier said than done, trust me, but I believe in letting go and making space for the new things to come. Um, you cannot hold everything, or else you'll go insane. You'll lose your mind.
Mhm.
But you really have to unload however you can, because, and keep on believing that there's a bigger and brighter future ahead of you. That's why I think now, after learning a lot from my experiences and from people like Atelia in my life, self forgiveness is now my first step and not my last. That's it. Thank you
Wow.
again.
Thank you. It's just so inspiring to know someone like you, that as you improve your craft, the work that you do, how you inspire millions of people, you are also doing that important work of self-work, no? Yung talagang, it's so inspiring. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see someone like Shaina Magdayaw, it's amazing that she does that work also for herself. So I hope this inspires millions of people out there na nanunood sa'yo, na
I'm just
fans
like each and
mo.
every one of you. Tao lang din naman ako. Maybe I'm just in front of the TV, but trust me, I'm having the same problems. I share the same struggles.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Um, but then, I believe in falling forward. I fail. I've failed so many times. I've made, like what I said, I'm like in this panel, I'm the expert in making mistakes, and I'm choosing to learn. And I think that's the most important thing. It's
Wow.
it's it's that decision to choose to learn from each and every experience that I I have in my life and I've had in my life.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And of course, last but not the least, Leah, would you like to give us your take on our topic for today?
Yes. I just thought that both closing statements were so beautiful. So I just want to make mine very simple by saying that forgiveness is the most authentic form of self love, and that all forgiveness boils down to self forgiveness. And this is where you develop a very intimate relationship with yourself, so that you become your own teacher, you become your own guru, you become your own therapist, where your inner compass is your guide. And you do this by really calibrating to your nervous system, where you honor what feels good and you just throw away what doesn't feel good. We refer to this as raising frequencies, and it's a tool that we use so that we're empowered to make our own decisions. We direct our own states of being. And when it comes to forgiveness, this needs to be self directed. This cannot be something that somebody tells you you need to do for yourself. This is something that you choose to do for yourself because you love yourself and because you trust yourself and because you want to free yourself from anything that no longer serves you. And with that, I say thank you for such a beautiful sharing with everyone here today. It's
Oh my
been
goodness.
a
Yes.
really special show.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I'm a learner today. I am just so overwhelmed with all of your sharing your insights to give yourself that freedom. I love that. So it's like a breath of fresh air. And I think that's a very good way to begin the year. So now I'd like to ask, for everyone to just look at the poll because we have our results for our second poll right now. Nandiyan dyan na ba? I find it difficult to forgive myself. Yes, said 12% said yes. So nandun ako sa 12%. The no is 88%.
Oh, yes,
That's
Yay!
good.
yes.
That's great. That's so good to hear.
I think after today, because of listening to all of you, what you've said, I am already in the 88%. I can definitely begin that journey of forgiving myself. Now, I would like to ask if you have anything to plug, if you'd like to invite anybody to, attend a seminar, you have a talk. Maybe I could begin with Rafi first.
Hi. So if you guys feel like you need some extra help or just someone to journey with you on whatever journey you're on, whether it's a forgiveness journey or just more of like understanding yourself, or we're just needing help to cope with anything, you can reach us. We're Better Step Psychology. We're a mental health service. We have mental health professionals, licensed mental health professionals, working with us, and we are ever ready to receive anyone who's willing to take better steps for their lives.
Oh, thank you so much. What about Shaina?
Well, everything that I'm doing is on my social media, so just follow me, Shaina underscore Magdaya on Instagram. And thank you again for having me. I believe this is the first episode this year, right? So
Yes, yes. We hope to
thank you
have
for
you again,
sharing
of
your
course.
wisdom, and I'm having a good time, and I had a good time learning from each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shaina. I love that. Of course, Leah, would you like to invite people?
Yes, please. Our Instagram is at Mapremo Wellbeing Group, and my personal one is at Leah Bernardo. We continually have workshops and retreats. Our next Experience Your Wholeness retreat is at the end of February. We're doing it online, but we're having some spots available person to person also. We just can't accommodate a huge crowd. And so that's the first offering we have this year. And we also have short workshops, and we're constantly posting. We're more active on Instagram than on Facebook, and that's always updated. And each month we have a Racing Frequencies class. It's always on the first Tuesday of each month. And that's an hour and a half long class. And the topic changes depending on what we're focusing on.
I'm already signing up for your workshop.
I attended that
Very,
workshop, so please,
yeah.
help me.
Thank
That's the
you.
workshop that I was talking about. So it's perfect. For tonight's topic also. So please do make time for that.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I'm at this point that I have to say goodbye to our guests. Thank you so much, Shaina. Thank you so much, Rafi. And thank you so much, Leah, for gracing our show for tonight. Thank you, of course, Atma Prema, because this wouldn't have been possible without you. I am truly grateful and honored to hear about your journey and all of the things that you said that has definitely enriched me. Look at my notes. Yes. So, yes, I wrote down a lot of things that you've said today. It has been an honor to be, listening to you, to all of you today. So, thank you so much, and goodbye to all our guests for today. Now, let me just give you a couple of takeaways from tonight's show. So many learnings, no? Ang daming natutunan. So, key takeaways from Leah. All forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Whew. Forgiveness does not mean welcome back into my life. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. It is about what happened, did happen, but it no longer affects me. How powerful that is. And forgiveness is the most authentic expression of self-love. How beautiful. And of course, the key takeaways from Rafi. Forgiveness is about letting go, rebuilding, and bearing. It's not about pardoning, excusing, condoning, forgetting, and denying. Forgiveness is a process moving from recognizing and resisting the fear, withdrawal, and urge to retaliate that is brought about by the hurt, and moving towards committing to the understanding and offering of peace and holding on to the commitment and the transformation that happened. Forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiveness is most effective when instead of acting as if nothing happened, we are mindful of the past and strive to relate differently, mindfully, striving and actively relating. Finally, from Rafi, forgiveness is not past oriented, but future oriented. We're learning and growing from the past into different, usually better versions of ourselves. And finally, from Shaina, accept that you'll need to let go of some people, especially if it's what's best for you. Forgiveness comes from you. You can't rely on other people to feel better. Put yourself in a healthy place. Choose to move forward than hanging on to the past, and make the decision to learn from every experience. So many beautiful things, and a couple of things I also got just from listening. It was so dynamic about being the hero in your stories, not being a victim of what happened in your past. To know when to let it go is you have to also be ready. So I love all of these things that we have heard today, and we would like to invite each and every one of you, if you want to hear some more, join us in our future shows, and come and join our community via the official Restart Facebook groups, which feature all three of our tracks: business, wellness, and creatives. The groups offer exclusive content such as AMAs with our panelists, community webinars, and workshops. And speaking of workshops, if our discussion today inspired you to start the journey to self forgiveness, just like me, Adma Prema Wellbeing Group is hosting a workshop all about all about self forgiveness. It's happening very, very soon. So just make sure you stay tuned for updates on our social media pages: Project Ripple PH on Facebook and at Project Ripple PH on Instagram. So there you have it. Thank you once again, Atma Prema. As I've said earlier, this would not have been possible without your partnership. Now, at the end of the day, you deserve to be able to move forward with your life and not be trapped by shame. We're all afforded a chance to be someone who's better than the wrongdoings we've committed. In the end, we must live with the fact that although we may not be forgiven by others, we owe it to ourselves to forgive ourselves in order to be someone better for the future. As always, in times of crisis, it's not game over, it's time to restart.